How does it feel to be adopted? What does it mean to search for your origins? Adoption is a life-altering experience for everyone involved, but for adoptees, the question of identity is never simple. It's a lifelong journey shaped by mystery, longing, and sometimes profound discoveries. I've spent the last 8 years listening to over 250 adopted people from all walks of life and around the world who share their adoption stories. People who lived through, thrived, and merely survived adoption, many of whom dared to search for their biological roots. Some found long-lost family, others uncovered unexpected truths, still others found no answers at all. But all of them shared raw, unfiltered stories of resilience, identity, and self-discovery. Now, their voices come together in my new book, The Adoptee Experience. Inside the cover, you'll find what adoptees experience in their adoptive families, why so many of us feel compelled to search, and the deep emotions that drive us. How fantasies about birth parents shape our expectations before adoption reunion. The role of DNA testing, access to records, and other tools that impact adoptee searches, and the emotional roller coaster of attempting adoption reunions to reconcile the past, whether the journey brings joy, heartbreak, or something in between. The Adoptee Experience isn't just a book, it's a reflection of what it really means to be adopted. If you've ever wondered about your own identity or you want to understand the adoptee journey, this book is for you. Please take a moment to visit whoamireallypodcast.com/adoptee experience. Again, whoamireallypodcast.com/adoptee experience to stay up to date on the book's progress.
Lots of Moroccans even say that to this day. You're lucky to be in the UK. And then my reply is, I might have been happy in Morocco. I might have been successful. I might have had a different family. So don't tell me to be lucky, because the UK's got its problems, just as Morocco's got its problems. Obviously, there's better opportunities. Everything's speculation.
Who am I?
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 This is Who Am I, Really? A podcast about adoptees that have located and connected with their biological family members. I'm Damon Davis, and you're about to meet Ryan. He called me from Edinburgh, Scotland, where he grew up in a family that he carried shame about being a part of. When a letter from his birth mother revealed the truth of his adoption at 18, Ryan's world collapsed and he kept it a secret for the next 13 years. Shame shaped Ryan's identity, but he has unlocked his healing and is on the search in Morocco for anyone who might know his birth identity. This is Ryan's journey. Ryan grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Edinburgh, raised by a brown-skinned Moroccan father and a white English mother. He grew up in a part of town called The Edge. Not the best part of town to live in, but not the worst either. From the outside, he was just another Scottish boy, but inside, he was quietly unraveling. Burdened by a sense of not quite belonging, he was already carrying a deep sense of otherness. So I asked Ryan to take me back to the beginning to explain his relationship with his mom and dad.
Definitely a mummy's boy. I was, and definitely not a dad's boy. So really close with my mum, and quite embarrassed and ashamed of my dad, and loved my mum to bit. Growing up, I think I mentioned I was always grew up with embarrassment about being Moroccan, embarrassment about the colour of my skin, embarrassment about religion, embarrassment about how much money we had, embarrassment and even something about my mum's English accent. Just anything that attracted bullying.
Yeah, anything that attracted bullying. It sounds like anything that made you feel like you were standing out, right? Color of your skin, your religion, your socioeconomic status, the way your mom talked, It sounds like any single thing, if you could be made fun of about it, was something that you were really sensitive about. Is that roughly correct?
Spot. We call it slagging. It's like taking the mick. So
Mm,
didn't want to get. It was already an embarrassment.
mm,
Well, it was tough growing up, getting slagged. I just didn't want any more of that,
yeah, I can understand.
especially as a child. Yeah, yeah, it really affects you.
It really does. It's true. You said you were a mama's boy, but not necessarily fond of your dad. You think you said you were embarrassed of him. Tell me why.
Just the reasons I mentioned: his religion, his the way he dressed, job, just his characteristics. And obviously, I didn't feel much affection from him younger. I kind of pushed it away. Proper father-son connection. Also about the religion as well. I didn't want to be Muslim growing up.
I see. So as a Moroccan, you were Muslim in Edinburgh, where the predominant religion is what?
I think it's Christian, yeah.
Is it Catholic? Is that
I think so,
accurate?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you stood out in a great many ways. I could see that. And it doesn't sound like you were Moroccan in a Moroccan community either. Is that
No,
correct? You
no, my name was Rashid Abou Fado Marini. So I was embarrassed I was born in Morocco. I was embarrassed of my Arabic name. I was embarrassed that Muslim color of the skin. Yeah, I just didn't. Yeah, obviously the color of the skin. I wanted to be white as well.
Yeah.
Growing up, that was. These are all stuff looking back on. I don't feel the same either. I was embarrassed of the Arabic language. Now I wish I knew it all. It's still
Yeah.
not too late to learn.
No, it's not. But this is the challenge that we have is hindsight is 2020, right? When you grow and mature and you realize what body of knowledge you've missed out on, what experiences you've missed out on, the uniqueness that makes you special, it's really tough to stand in the hot wind of someone making fun of you about yourself and feel pride about it. Even if your parents say that should be a source of pride of you, it's just a thing that people really struggle with. It's hard to do.
Part of my mum, I was embarrassed of my mum as much of her caring side. If I'm a minute late, she'd come out looking for me, worried, and all my friends would laugh. Now looking back, that's a caring mum.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so I remember that many times, and looking back, I was very grateful for what my mum done for me.
Did you feel with your dad, you said even how he dressed. Did he dress traditional Muslim Moroccan and that was a
No,
standout for him?
a little bit. I also dressed. I had no money. And it was very annoying. That's a typical Moroccan. Moroccans, I believe, are known as hagglers. Just been to Morocco there, and they'll tell you a price, so you divide it by four, and you're sitting having a 5 minute back and forth. I always thought there was something up with me, and I remember all the tantrums I used to have. But growing up, I never really knew what it was, but I knew there was something different for me.
That's interesting. You said you never knew what it was, but you knew there was something different. What did you think that was going on? What did you feel it could even be?
That I didn't know. My brain didn't have the knowledge or the intelligence to try and work it out
Yeah.
as a
When you
child.
don't have the language for something, it's impossible to figure out what is this thing that I'm feeling. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe a child's brain hadn't developed that much to work it out what was up with me. So my parents had a son and a daughter, and they were white skinned, and I always thought I was dark skinned because I was born in Morocco. So I used to lie and say that I was born in Scotland.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that was just the shame factor growing up, just of anything. Um,
Interesting. So your parents had two biological children from their union, but
yes.
you look different from those kids.
Yes.
But you said you got along with your siblings just fine. You're a mama's boy.
Yes.
You weren't close to your dad. Okay. Interesting. So if I recall correctly from your story, there was a time when you were a teenager that you discovered you were adopted. Is that right?
That's right. It was the 4th of January 2008. I'd been in Edinburgh. My parents had divorced, so I was living in England, but I missed Edinburgh so much. So I was in Edinburgh partying for New Year's, called Hogmanay. Had good fun, came back down to England, and my brother has hinted that you need to speak to mum. She's got something to tell you. And my mum wrote me a letter, 3-page letter, just telling me that I was adopted. And yeah, I just felt my whole body shaking.
Ryan had always sensed something wasn't quite right, but the letter confirmed what his body already knew. His life was built around a secret. And instead of relief, the truth filled Ryan with more shame. So he did what many late discovery adoptees do. He literally ran from the truth for years.
I ran out the house crying. I just went into a room, didn't speak to them, packed a bag, left next day. Yeah, I was told out of love. You're too scared to tell me. Although some people are told out of spite, or just being like, yeah, you've been nasty, or yeah, and I've thrown it back in her face so many times. But I have now, I've been able to understand it. And there was only a period, like a week or two, we were distant. But yeah, since that day, that created trust issues.
So just to recap, you were out of the house. You were old enough to be living in England, but you missed Edinburgh, so you came back to party
Yeah, I was so
and hang
yeah,
out for New Year's.
yeah, I got family in England, so we moved to England. But I was always thinking in my head, I'm moving back to Scotland. So I was in Scotland at the time, came back down and got told that news, and that really upset me. So I just packed the bag and left. And that's when I started just left to tackle life on 1, 2 feet. I stayed with a friend, then I got a flat, then I got my first ever job, and then that was it. I was me against the world.
Really?
And
And what age are you at this time?
18.
Wow.
So then all that embarrassment as a kid, this was the biggest weapon someone could use against me.
Oh, so if they had known you were also adopted, that would have been yet another thing to have bullied you on.
So that's why I kept it a secret. I was so ashamed. And then
So
there's
you,
also the adoption stuff of anytime anyone was ever nasty to me because I was adopted. So obviously they thought that the whole adopted family knew I was adopted, except my cousins. And you just look around and things are like black and white.
and you're thinking to yourself, everybody knew but me.
Yeah, you feel silly. And that's called an LDA, late discovery adoptee.
Ryan didn't just learn he was adopted, he learned everyone else already knew. Cousins, neighbors, maybe even his friends. And for him, that wasn't just confusing, it was humiliating. The secret he hadn't known to carry suddenly became his heaviest burden. So, in Ryan's adoption, he identified multiple layers of the complexity of his own adoption journey.
Being an adoptee, I've got different types of layers. Transracial, because my mum's a different race. Transnational, different country, Morocco to Scotland. LDA, late discovery adoptee, finding out late. These are all different layers to just even being adopted,
Yeah.
which can have its challenges.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm glad you highlighted the multiple layers of complexity that you live with, because this is one of the things I talk about when I'm writing, and I've begun to highlight this very thing that an adoptee can fall into multiple buckets at the same time, right? You could be trans and LGBTQ and international and LDA and all these things at the same time. And it just adds a tremendous layers of complexity
There's
to
a
your
few more
existence.
layers, but that goes back to the start of my story. But for me, the main layer was keeping that a secret for 13 years.
What Ryan didn't expect was how much his silence would hollow him out. The longer he stayed quiet, the more disconnected he felt from others and from himself. When he finally let the truth slip after a few drinks in 2017, 9 years after his late discovery, he thought it would help, but Ryan said he felt worse that he had let the secret slip at all. But it only reminded him of how tightly he had sealed himself shut.
I've just felt like that secret was out and I didn't want to be here. I'm so disappointed in myself for slipping up. But I slipped up for a reason because it was killing me inside.
Yep. That's
And
exactly what I was
I think
thinking.
age 22, 23, I started writing a will. I was always thinking about death. I started on antidepressants. Yeah, so that's where my battle with mental health started. But I was at younger years, I was able to cope. I
So
don't, I don't know if I
did
did really cope, but it was much more manageable, I think, then. I was young, there was more distractions.
yeah, you're out surviving, right? You're trying to maintain your job, maintain your flat, have a social life, all of these things that keep a young person really busy.
The social life was the main part, partying, alcohol and drugs. I
So
didn't,
you were running from it and masking it with substance abuse.
yeah, but I was actually having fun. I was having really a lot of fun. It wasn't like I was upset taking it. I was just, yeah, I was having fun, going to the clubs, experience the nightlife,
Yeah.
going on holidays. Yeah, I was trying to live my life, not caring about myself.
But it sounds though like you could admit you were running a little bit. Is that roughly
Yeah,
correct?
of course.
Yeah.
Every holiday, every event, every festival, I needed something to do to look forward to, and I would just distance myself from my adopted family, and then my friends turned my family.
So let me
Uh,
ask you about that relationship with your family then. You were 18, you get this unexpected letter that reveals you're an adoptee. It
yeah,
shakes your world. You said your body was shaking when you read this letter and you vanished. You went off and you found your own flat, got your own job, and you started your own life. But there are times that come around, your birthday, the holidays, and all of these different momentous occasions throughout the year where family typically gets together. What did you do? Did you ever reach back to your mom?
they reached out. They were always supportive, and I kind of like pushed them away, but they wouldn't go. So they were always reached out, which was nice. Part of it, go back to the start of my story. I'm also a foundling, so I was
Meaning
found in the street.
you were a foundling found in the street.
That's another layer,
Oh my gosh.
and with no information.
Really?
But I have an adoption file. I didn't look at that till age 31, but I'll go into that. Yeah, family occasions, Christmases and birthdays, they were a trigger. I would get invited to people's houses for Christmas and birthdays. And if I ever went to see my adopted family, I would just feel awkward. But yeah, there was times when I needed them because I got myself in a few bad situations. But they were always there and they always cared, which was nice.
That is
But
great.
the problem was in my brain, not there. And yeah, I was just very stubborn and just couldn't get around for it. And I didn't get any help either. I didn't ask for any help, meaning from any professionals.
Well, yeah, I mean, you ran away, right? You got the news. You decided you were out of there, and you've said that you never really confronted it. You only revealed it to somebody when you got drunk, and so you kept it a secret for a long time. So, yeah, it doesn't sound like there was any professional support at all.
Yeah. Do you know the professional support that's out there usually is offered to kids or
Mhm.
teenagers, young adults,
Yeah.
but not to older adults.
Yep.
So when I reached out for help at lockdown, age 31, 32, there was nothing much there for you because they only want to cater to the youngers.
You said you reached out during lockdown. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Really? What was it about lockdown that made that the right time for you?
So
This you're
my
talking about the COVID pandemic and everybody being by themselves, they're sequestered in their houses.
yeah, so my life, everyone thought I had a good life. I enjoyed going to an island called Ibiza,
Hmm.
and I spent 5 summers there. And in the winter, I'd go traveling, and but every holiday was just me chasing dopamine to forget about my adoption. And I did forget about it because I was doing amazing stuff. But then I turned into a thrill seeker. And so then what happened when COVID happened? We couldn't fly anymore. So that means I couldn't escape. And then that gave me the reason to stop alcohol and drugs for 1 year. And then that gave me the strength to go and tell my friends that I was adopted, tell my family, done a 15-minute life story video and done some work on myself, spoke to a therapist for the first time, joined groups, done any self development stuff you can think of, Reiki, yoga, meditation. I was just winging it.
So tell me, let's go back for a moment. I want to hear a little bit about your first entry into, we'll just call it therapy, for all of the things that you did to start to heal. How was it for you to start to confront what your reality was?
Yeah, I tried to get therapy in 2019, and I just sat to the woman and I couldn't speak. And I walked out after the first session. And that is obviously it's just a message to people that you have to be ready in your own time. I wasn't ready there. So two years later, I got therapy, and you couldn't go face to face because of COVID. So it was over the phone, and that 1 hour was fantastic.
Really?
I felt a big weight off my shoulders there. So I was really happy with that. Since then, I've had like around about 7 or 8 therapists. But yeah, the first time was a huge deal. Just like speaking to the first ever adoptee, just like going to the first ever adoptee group, just then speaking in the adoptee groups, gets a lot of support, and realizing there's a whole adoptee community out there, and put myself in as an advocate while I do my best.
I was glad to hear that Ryan found the outlet in adoption therapy that he needed. The break that the COVID pandemic forced, which prevented his dopamine seeking in Ibiza, allowed Ryan space to confront his adoption trauma. As we chatted, I realized Ryan had only spoken about his adoptive mother in the years after he read the letter, but he hadn't said anything about his relationship with his father. During the same period, Ryan had pushed his family away, and his father was among them. He said they were civil and they loved each other, but they didn't like one
He
another.
used the big, and we kept a distance, but we keep in touch if we needed.
Yeah, but basically it sounds like what he was telling you is you should just be thankful for the life you did get.
Yeah, meaning that I would be running in the street. If I would be a kid running the streets of Morocco, lots of Moroccans even say that to this day. You're lucky to be in the UK. And then my reply is, I might have been happy in Morocco. I might have been successful. I might have had a different family. Everything's all speculation. So don't tell me to be lucky, because the UK's got its problems, just as Morocco's got its problems. Obviously, there's better opportunities, but everything's speculation. So you don't know if I would have had a better life in Morocco.
Yeah. This is the overestimation that a lot of people see from their point of view. They will tell you that, but they probably don't have the privilege of hearing some of the things that you've just shared with me, that you were ashamed of your dad, you were ashamed of your religion, you were an outcast because you were a different race than everybody around you. There were so many different pieces of your upbringing that brought you shame and embarrassment and bullying that they haven't even considered how challenging it was for you to grow up there versus at home where you look like everybody. Your name is similar to other people's. You hold the same religion, like you were a homogenous part
Yeah,
of the entire community and were not a standout. And so while the opportunities may not have been as great as they could be in the UK, the opposite is that you would have been absolutely at home with people that look like you, etc.
exactly. I would have had my own family, my culture, and my community. So obviously, I took the culture away from me, even though when I tried to encourage me to be in the Arabic culture, Muslim culture, Islam culture, I went the opposite direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a party life. I was sick of everyone thinking that I had a good life, and I noticed you get jealousy and stuff. And anytime someone upset me, back in my head would be that I'm adopted, and that problem would magnify every now and again. I'd always wanted to stop alcohol and drugs, even just for a break. I'm very glad that I done that during lockdown.
With the distractions faded, Ryan finally faced the truth he'd spent years trying to outrun. What started out as a year of sobriety turned into a season of reckoning, therapy, community, and storytelling. His healing didn't begin with answers, but began with vulnerability, which gave him a clear head to record a video, which he shared publicly. Ryan achieved sobriety at that time, so I asked him to explain how his sobriety and his healing interconnected. He described the pyramid of partying, leaving the impact of hangovers that compounded his depression.
It was just that pyramid effect, the opposite way, where My hangovers were lasting 1 day to sometimes 5 days. And this is sitting in bed thinking, getting suicidal thoughts. The party in life, if you get the balance wrong, can have a negative effect on you, which it
Yeah.
was for me. It can be very difficult to pull yourself out of that situation. I would always have breaks every now and again and do a month off it, but I just kind of just felt myself going in a circle. I was and I'm really ashamed of the person I would become if drunk. Sometimes I'd be the life and soul. Sometimes I'd be annoying.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Heads in or say something inappropriate or having to apologize in the morning. Luckily, I got away with it because people knew I was a nice guy. And also the harm it had on people. So looking around me, friends going to jail, friends dying, addictions. And then obviously people changing
How do you mean?
and also bullying and nasty stuff happening to me. So I knew what a good person was like from being around my mum. That's the type of people that existed. That I knew that were good, kind people. And then I've seen evil people. And most of us want to be around the good people in our life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a cocktail of all that. And I just felt that any wrong that I've done in life, because none of us are perfect, I wanted to start to do as much right as possible, much good. So so then obviously me having being unconscious from drugs once, that's
Really?
some of them are alarming moments. So I wanted to try and just let life's too short attitude be as good as possible. And
Yeah, you want to break free from that. Yeah. Wow. So let me ask then, you've become estranged from your family. You've gone through some healing in terms of all of the multiple levels of being an adoptee. Do you How do you think about your birth family? What kinds of thoughts do you have? And did you try to go back to Morocco to search at all? What did you do?
as for the conversation, I'm just back yesterday.
Wow.
That was my third time searching. Just like to highlight how difficult it is for an adoptant who's adopted from a different country. The money you need to spend, the effort, the amount of times I've had my door closed in my face, asking strangers for help who have been fantastic. Not many people are willing to put themselves out there like I have. I have no information. The nurse, people are trying to remember stuff from 34 years ago. The nurse that said that I was found on the street, she's now dead 6
Oh,
years ago. In Morocco, like she would have maybe known something. She would have maybe seen the mum.
yep.
Who knows? In Morocco, it's a culture thing. If you had sex before marriage, or if you cheated, or if you're young, or if you're in poverty, you just have the baby and leave. Get about it and start a new family. Or there could be many situations, but there's also the part of getting exploited as well. There's also, I've done the DNA test as well, and there's no high matches. But how many people in Morocco can afford the DNA test?
I was just getting ready to ask if Morocco had its own
No, it
DNA
doesn't.
database. You have to do a database in some other country, right?
Yes,
Or did you do Ancestry?
I've done them all. I've done about 6 or 7.
Yeah, have you really? Wow.
Ryan has knocked on every door: embassies, hospitals, courts, even turned to television studios. He's not looking for a fairy tale reunion. He just wants to know who he is, where he came from. Sometimes Ryan thinks even just finding a cousin would be enough.
Yeah. So I've knocked on every door. People, as helpful as they are, and say, how about this? How about that? Done that. Spoke to the embassy, spoke to the hospital, spoke to the courts, spoke to the registry office, walked the streets, I grilled my parents like a newspaper reporter, asking them question after question, repeating the question, sometimes raising my voice, them in tears, saying, I promise I'm telling the truth. Yes, searching for answers. Some people go looking for parents. I go looking for a cousin. I
Mhm.
want anything.
Any distant relative will
Even
do.
as
Start.
positive, I have met fourth, third, and fourth cousins.
Okay.
They treated like me like family.
Oh,
Plus,
really?
plus most of the other Moroccans, when I go to Morocco, treat me like family, which is nice.
That is amazing.
But still in search of trying to search for my family and The biggest people who have helped me are people on my social media. They've been fantastic lately. One person creating a poster for me, one person translating it for me, people coming up with different ideas. I've been to the TV studios. Yeah, so the only way my ideas I'm trying to find family is turn up to the TV studios and ask them to take my story, speak
Yeah.
about it. So the way I look at it, I do podcasts and try and do as much as I can for mental health. And my superpower can be vulnerability. So that's me making myself useful to my debt to the world.
That's really great that you have opened up this level of vulnerability for other people, because there's a lot of challenge in your story and journey. And I can't help wondering about this lack of true identity for you. Basically, I couldn't help thinking that whatever birthday you have always celebrated probably isn't your real birthday.
Possibly, I asked that question. I'm waiting a reply because I wondered why. So I was born with no name. So my adopted parents gave me my name. And I wondered why the 19th is on, my 19th of February is on my birthday. I don't know. But obviously my story is very sad. But I'm actually I'm a happy-go-lucky guy
Yeah.
on good days. Whenever anyone sees me and smiling, I'm always joking. I'm immature. It's not been all bad. My mom has been fantastic, and the rest
Yeah.
of my family. So one of my friends mentioned, you used to be the man, and now it's just a sad story. And also, I do want to flip it and say that life's good. I'm still out living my life, making the best of a bad situation. And even if I don't find my family, it's either not going to give up or I want to try and be an inspiration. So it's important to highlight the difficulties us adoptees face
Yeah.
because society always thinks, oh, adoption's good and you've been saved and you should be grateful, which I am at parts, but I look at it on both sides because I've heard some stories of horrible adoptions
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
my heart goes out. And there is a fact that adoptees are 4 times more likely to commit suicide. That's quite an alarming fact.
It really is.
And
It really is.
we're brought into the world from tragedy. It's if I ever hear of anyone who's adopted, I instantly feel like I've got their back.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a kinship among adoptees, right? We feel this relationship to each other almost like brotherly, sisterly from a distance, right? You are somebody that can understand how my life began. There's the story, the origin story may be different, but ultimately we all can understand this adoption piece. And it's something that nobody else in society, very few other people in society can relate to. And I
So,
love what you said too about just being a positive person in general. I was talking about this with someone else, that we can have traumas in our lives and they can make us or break us. And it's all dependent upon the person, that the individual who is able to overcome adversity will do so. And then some other people struggle mightily with that. And you've said yourself, you've got a positive attitude about life and you're just a happy go lucky person
I'll
with
stop,
a sad story.
I'll stop you there. Not all the time. There's days when I give up. There's
Really?
days when I'm so stubborn I don't reach out. There's days when I'm thinking suicidal thoughts. So
Really?
I'm not the finished package. I'm nowhere near it.
Mm,
Therapy, and some therapy says, Ryan, you're too much. I can't handle you.
mm.
A few therapists have said that. And sometimes I wear being adopted with a badge of honor. Sometimes I wear it like an embarrassment and I'm useless. I always feel the need to be doing great things and like looking for perfection or chase it. I'm a dopamine chaser, whether it's a podcast to a cliff jump to going to find my family and
It's pushed you
trying
to
to
the
be
edge in a lot of ways,
chasing,
huh?
trying to be incredible when sometimes it's okay to just be still and relax.
That's a good point.
And I'm not that. Some people say traveling's the best. Sometimes I work family life's the best and being content with what's around you. Everyone's different. But yeah, I want to, at the moment, I'm a dopamine chaser. And I don't know if that's healthy. I do get my kicks from it. I don't know if I'll ever change. I'm still young in the head.
You're still young in many ways. In your
Yeah,
30s, you're still young.
part of me was playing on my mind is I've never had a partner, never letting people get close to me. And getting to that age when I'm going to start a family, but I've made a pact that I would never, I don't want to have kids until I get my head sorted. And will I ever get my head sorted? And then is kids the answer? All these questions, and I'm having this debate in my 30s where time's running out. So times I can ignore it, and then times that can play on your mind because having a
I don't
child doesn't mean that you have it. If you don't have a child or not, doesn't mean your life's worth living or not, does it?
It really doesn't, and that was actually part of what I was gonna say is that your relationship status, your parenting status doesn't define the score on your life, right? You don't get 10 extra points because you have a kid and then another 20 because you're in a relationship. You get credit for being a good person, regardless of all of these other pieces of your life, right? So as long as you're in your life in the clean ways that you've said that you're a person that people want to be around, right? You're nice and kind and generous and thoughtful and all of the things that make someone special to other people. It really doesn't matter if you are in or out of a relationship, if you are a father or not. Those are wonderful things to have. I'm not discrediting them. I'm simply saying you don't get extra points at the end of life to say, man, you checked off a lot of boxes there. It's the quality of your heart.
I'm
The fact that you're out trying to share your story to help other people. Those are things that you should actually take a lot of credit for, in my opinion.
Yeah, I got quite upset or quite annoyed and quite sad that, well, as I say, nobody's perfect. So when I make mistakes and when I'm not positive or if I'm upset with someone or if someone doesn't want to be friends with me, that being adopted is the abandonment again. I've got thousands of friends, loads and loads of friends, loads. And in fact, I'm calling people friends. I know a lot of people. I've got a lot, but then who are your true friends? And stuff's happened to me where a friend's done backstabbed you or done something a friend wouldn't do. And I'm actually numb to it, the amount of disappointment I've had from people.
Really?
But it's also, I've done it to others as well, or just raising your voice or upsetting them or an argument. And I feel like I should know better with being educated, being on this journey educated. And also, when I have a low point, I feel like I should know better to beat this low point, but I can't. I have more tools. There's some days where I just give up. And then
Mm,
by being no more knowledgeable about mental health, it's made me even worse. Sometimes on my down days, worse knowing that, yeah, when I come out of depression, I look back and go, I've just wasted 8 hours there. And it takes me a few days. And also, I walk around and I think, nobody knows how I was feeling an hour ago. And us as adoptees, some of us, people watch. I do that a lot. I watch, look at people and I wonder what their stories are. And now more and more try and engage with people, try and make sure my words are uplifting. But they're not all
that's
the
great.
time because sometimes I have my flaws and I do silly stuff.
We all do. We all do. But I think, like I said, one of the great things, Ryan, is that you're out telling your story to try to help others. And I would encourage you to accept the help from other people to lift you up. The same way you're trying to lift up others to say, listen, this is my story, but this is not the end. I would just encourage you to absorb the stories of others and make sure that you are accepting yourself for what has happened, but don't let it define you as who you are as best as possible. It's tough. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just trying to encourage you that there's a lot of richness to life that you can build on. And it doesn't have to all be related to adoption, but it is a significant part of your story, especially because you're an LDA from 18 years old. That was very,
Yeah. And I feel like I need to tell my story as much as possible because the 13 years I was quiet, I'm playing catch up.
there you go.
I could literally tell a person in the street my story. And it's nice sometimes. I've inspired others. And I want to keep on inspiring, just even regarding mental health. A big part with men, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. For men, especially, I've often said that, and I'm not being chauvinistic, I think we all can agree, women tend to be more emotional than men. Men tend to be very logical, and therefore we're not as communicative, and we hold our emotions back. But we still experience the same kinds of things that will elicit different emotions. We just process them and express them differently, and not always in healthy ways. And so you're absolutely right to talk more about this mental health piece from the male perspective. It's incredibly important because not a lot of us invest the time in ourselves to try to make sure that our mental health is strong.
Yeah. I remember me doing a video, me being sober, me doing a hill walk to doing a cliff jump. I watched someone else do it. So that's why I wanted to do it. So point is, if you do it, someone else might want to do it.
Yep.
And this is the point where I went a year off alcohol and drugs, and then I went back on them for 18 months. And I used the word balance. And I was like, I've done my year, now I can get back on it. And I had fun. But then when I got myself in a bad state, people who looked up to me see me in a not so great way. And I felt like a fraud. So that's
Interesting.
why I've recently done another year off it. I had a thought to myself to say, I might never go back to it. And in honor of anyone who's had issues, still got issues, I'm thinking about making that pact to myself, because there's a lot of people who have lost someone due to alcohol or drugs. I always use the word balance, and everyone's balance is different. And I've had very dark days being off it. So
Yeah.
I'm very frustrated to say, why am I still having dark days and I've cut out this toxic stuff? So it's quite frustrating. But I believe I probably would have been much worse if I was still doing that stuff.
I think you're right. We've, as well as anybody, these things are depressants. They'll tear apart your body. They do far more harm than good. So it's probably better for you to invest the time in strengthening yourself than investing lost energy in consumption, right? It's not gaining you anything. If you took the time that you spend seeking out the substances, consuming them, being this altered state, and then hungover, if you think about that entire duration of time, and instead you said, I have gone to therapy, talked to friends about this, been on podcasts, sat and written my story, processed it, and all of these things, and like invested in this mental strength that you've talked about wanting, you could see that the same amount of time could be spent very differently. One building yourself up, the other tearing yourself down.
I did have a great time and I had great memories. And not many people say this. My life's not really changed. I still go to the clubs. I go to the clubs and I drink coffee. People laugh at me. And I went to the island Ibiza twice now, sober. I do say I've had half as much of a good time, but I'm 10 times better in the morning. So that's my balance.
That's great.
But I don't want to beat myself up and say I'll never do them, because I might, because I have had some great experiences, but I want to feel like that horrible feeling that I've let myself down if I did do it. But I'm just not putting any pressure, because everyone's different. That you're right. There is more bad than good.
Yeah.
But
yeah, use the time to build yourself up.
Yeah.
Wow.
I do my best.
That's good to hear, Ryan. Thank you so much for being here with me, man. I really appreciate it. I wish you truly the best of luck. This search in Morocco now is really tough.
I was in Morocco and I done that poster, and that then went viral, and a lot of people have messaged and said they're my mum. So I'm filtering through these messages and see what happens. Obviously, I've done a DNA test with a woman, so that takes 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is I would highly encourage anyone who thinks they're your mom to do any DNA test, because even if they're not your mom, their child might be looking for them.
Exactly. So that was my thought process. So if she's not my mom, as an adoptee, I'm gonna help her find her son, or help her son find their mom.
That's great.
That felt good. But as you can see, it can be quite overwhelming going to these studios. 500 comments to go through on Facebook about constant WhatsApps in different languages.
Wow.
Beware for people to not get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I need a PA.
Yeah, you do.
But
Crazy.
I'm sure if I asked, I can get one.
Yeah, you probably could. You probably
But
could,
I'm
Ryan.
really happy I went to Morocco. I'll continue to keep visiting. But you do feel like you got a mixed identity. Like in Scotland, I feel Moroccan. And in Morocco, I feel Scottish. But I embrace it. Sometimes it can be challenging, but at the moment, I'm smiling. So I always say, enjoy your good days and ride out your bad days.
I love
And there's also another quote, is you want to live life for those around you. Live life for those no longer here. And live life for yourself, what I try to tell myself.
That's great, Ryan. I love it, man. Thanks so much for being here with me. I
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having
brother.
me.
All the best, Ryan. See you later, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, it's me. Ryan's story is one of quiet shame and brave reclamation. He spent years locked in silence, hiding the truth from everyone, including himself, about his adoption. But once he finally let the truth out, he made something beautiful from it. He developed connection with the adoptee community, turned to advocacy, and has developed a sense of purpose that's bigger than his pain. He may not have found his biological family yet, but he's found something else, the strength to keep going. I found it fascinating that wherever Ryan goes, he feels a bit on the outside, never quite at home. But instead of rejecting the feeling, he's learned to embrace it. Sometimes belonging isn't about fitting in. It's about knowing the layers of who you are and adapting along the way in order to just be yourself. I'm Damon Davis, and I hope you found something in Ryan's journey that inspired you, validates your feelings about wanting to search, or motivates you to have the strength along your journey to learn, who am I really? And remember to sign up for updates for the new book, The Adoptee Experience. You can learn more at theadopteeexperience.com.